And among those pre-war American battleships was the USS North Carolina. Today, she rests as a state memorial in Wilmington, honoring the more than 10,000 North Carolinians who fought and died in World War II.
Welcome to the USS North Carolina.
A visit aboard the North Carolina is a visit back in time.
And as you begin it, let us tell you something about this giant of a ship. We should start by saying there have been 3.
Here, some 2,500 men once lived and worked, and carried on the business of war in a city at sea. The North Carolina's engines could drive the ship at 27 knots, 6 knots faster than any previous American battleship. Here rest the 9 great guns of her main battery, fired 2,396 times in 9 operations by crews that often worked around the clock in the suffocating heat of the Pacific. Captain Dave Shoy is executive director of the North Carolina Memorial. He explains how the crew worked the guns.
This is the lower projectile flat from where the crew would take the chosen type of ammunition, be it the 2,700-pound armor-piercing or the 1,900-pound high-capacity projectile, and raise it up to the gun house to be placed in the barrel.
Each steel barrel weighs 96 tons and can be loaded in 30 seconds.
The first projectile is already in place to be raised up to the gun house. Once this projectile is clear, the next projectile is slid into place.
A full 9-gun broadside of armor-piercing projectiles delivers a total weight of 24,000 pounds and can penetrate more than 20 inches of the strongest hardened steel.
For every projectile, it takes 6 90-pound powder bags. The crews down here will take the bags out of the tanks, put them on the conveyor belt. From here, they're passed one at a time to the powder flat, and then 6 of them together are going to be raised up to the gun. The projectile, when the transfer tray lays down, is then rammed into the barrel. In the second phase, the first 3 bags of powder come out of the hoist and are separated, and then the second 3 bags are rolled into place. In the third phase, the 6 bags of powder would then be rammed into the barrel, the primer attached to the last powder bag, the breech closed, and the gun is ready to fire.
The shells are hurtled over 2,000 feet per second as the gun recoils on itself, a distance of 4 feet. At a range of nearly 20 miles with the guns at maximum elevation, the trajectory is 7 miles high and the projectile becomes an armor-piercing bomb. To hit a moving target from a ship which itself is moving, pitching, and rolling requires a complex system of fire control. Deep below deck is the North Carolina's plotting room and the ship's analog computers. These primitive yet rugged computers, called range keepers, and their electrical switchboards control the guns. A stream of information from directors high up in the superstructure is relayed into the controlling range keeper. The course and speed of the ship and of its target ship, wind direction and velocity, temperature of the powder and the air, type of projectile, time of flight, gun wear, velocity of the ocean current, and more. The gun is aimed not at the target, but where the target will be when the projectile gets there. Linked to the controlling range keeper is a gyroscopically operated device called the stable vertical. The guns actually remain stable and can be aimed with great accuracy while the ship rolls and pitches beneath them. The 5-inch guns were controlled by the same kind of computers or range keepers as the 16-inch guns, but loading was a manual operation. Dave Shoy.
The 5-inch gun uses a projectile and a single powder case, as opposed to the 16-inch gun, which uses a projectile and 6 powder bags. So it is simpler for the operators to load the mount. They will lay the projectile and the powder bag in the tray and then ram the 2 pieces into the barrel. Takes about 47 sailors to fully man a 5-inch mount.
Today, visitors relive what it was like to serve aboard such a ship. In passageways and living spaces below the main deck, thousands of battleship sailors made their home in ships like the North Carolina. They slept and ate and worked and played and worked. The galley served up 3 meals a day and then some. There was a store and a post office, and on a battleship there was ice cream at the soda fountain. There was a newspaper, a tailor, and a cobbler, and always there were decks to polish. As night falls, the North Carolina looms large against the Wilmington skyline. Her great guns glow in the moonlight as she awaits yet another day to welcome her visitors, eager to know what it was once like aboard one of America's most decorated battleships. Although the North Carolina came home to stay, others would soon return to the battle line in defense of freedom. Sunday, 25 June 1950, 6 divisions of the North Korean Army, spearheaded by over 100 Soviet-built tanks, crossed the 38th parallel to invade South Korea. The United States, through the United Nations, is committed to defend South Korea. But what remains of America's once great battleships rests in mothballs. Only the Missouri, the last battleship commissioned by the United States Navy, is still at sea. Among her peaceful and symbolic missions, the Missouri traveled to South America and brought President Harry Truman home from an international conference in Rio de Janeiro in 1947. He and his family enjoyed life aboard the historic warship. He mixed with the crew, took walks, and actually waited in line at the barbershop. He admitted to being a first-time crosser of the equator and accepted his initiation as a pollywog and high spirits. From 1948 to 1950, the world's most